All right, everyone, welcome to the On My Block podcast. I am your host, Mike Wahle. Professor Amon Green will not be joining us today as he is starting his new class as a professor, university professor at the University of Nebraska. I know that his class is on esports, which we can have a whole discussion on how this has all come about because that's amazing. But Amon Green, Packers all-time leading rusher, Packers Hall of Famer, professor at the University of Nebraska, a Nebraska alumni, of course. So congratulations, Amon, and good luck on your first day, bud. We're going to talk a little bit about this Packers-Pats game. Got some film to go through. Before we do that, BetOnline, thanks for sponsoring us. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, football, esports, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. So head to your website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get into the action. Remember, use your promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Second preseason game, and I guess the way this works because of the third preseason game, we're only having three now. You used to play all your starters into the third quarter on the third, but probably that's whatever action they're going to get, the most action they're going to get in the second, I would imagine, because you got a lot of decisions to make now after that third game, even though you have that extra week now in between the third game and the actual start of the season. Let's start off with this. Obviously, everybody knows who's a Packer fan or Patriots fan. The rookie cornerback Isaiah Bolden for the Patriots. He took some friendly fire on trying to make a tackle, I think, late in the third or the fourth quarter, and they stopped the game. He was carted off. They ended up canceling the game, and I guess the only report that we have here is that Belichick and I think Isaiah Bolden spoke to the media yesterday, but he's doing much better, which is good news. Always a scary situation. That is part of football, but you don't like to see it happen. I don't remember a time in a preseason game that they've actually stopped the game. And so that was kind of unprecedented. I think you make the right decision there. You got to weigh what's important and how this is going to affect the rest of your team. Obviously, you're worried about that player, but how that's going to affect the rest of your team and your ability to evaluate and all of those kind of things. But I think they made the right call there. The Packers lose this game 17-21. And the starters basically tie the game. If you look at the first quarter, it's 7-7. We had obviously an ugly turnover there early on. The Patriots take it down, go to the goal line, get a holding call or pass interference in the back of the end zone, back corner of the end zone, the right side. And then I think they punch it in the next play. Back and forth, we respond. And rookie Jalen Reed has his first touchdown on a great throw from Jordan Love, something we'll see later. There's a couple things I think we just need to look at as far as like where we're at right now. And we have some fan questions we're going to go through, but where we're at right now, I think the number one thing we need to understand from the Packers standpoint is you have your right tackle. Zach Tom is going to tackle. Josh Myers is playing well. He played well this game. He's going to be the center. There's not going to be this. Can Zach Tom play all these different positions? Is he like Elgin Jenkins deal? I'm sure he is. He's going to be your right tackle. Right now, candidly, there's not a player on the offensive line that's playing, at least in this game, that's playing better than Zach Tom is. I'm talking about from a footwork, body position, hand placement, finish. He's doing everything as well as anybody else on that team because Bakhtiari's not playing right now. Jenkins is what Jenkins is. I think Jenkins kind of shows out maybe more against better players. I think he's had some really good games against good players across the years. But when we just look at it like this preseason game, where it probably means a little bit more to Zach Tom than it does Elgin Jenkins, when you see the finish, when you see the footwork, when you see the initial steps, when you see the bend, when you see the hand placement, really like what you see from that standpoint. There's some technical things that he can work on, but just it's such people want to make this a very difficult game. And we have, especially when you talk to some coaches, offensive line coaches are usually the worst. They've got 14 different ways to take a pass set. They have different special things. They want to lock in their hip and twist this way. The game is so simple. Can I get to this position? We're fighting for real estate because we're going to have a confrontation, right? We're going to go fisticuffs. Can I get to my spot, my real estate spot, under control before the other person? If the answer is yes, and I have a great body position and all of the, I'm gonna have success. Take all the other like fancy stuff out, just at the most basic thing in the world. If you move right and you understand where you need to get to and what position you need to be when you get there, you're gonna be pretty good. And Zach Tom has that stuff figured out in spades. Rasheed Wallace is going to be your swing tackle. Now, Yosh Nijman and Rasheed Wallace, Yosh has done a good job for this football team, and I think Yosh is a pro. Rasheed Wallace has a higher upside. Rasheed Wallace is a better in the run game. He did a good job. I think there's some real liability against some good players in the passing game. If we go through the tape, I kind of show you. If you're playing against a good player that wants to play right now, you might have some issues. But Rasheed Wallace is big. He moves really well for his size. He's good in the run game. He's very, very competent in the pass game. And I just think when you look at ceilings right now, his ceiling's a little bit high. He's already better in the run game than Yosh is. And he goes up against the Patriots ones, at least some of them. And he looks like he knows what he's doing. So I think he's probably going to be your swing guy. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means for Yosh. I don't know if they try to move him inside. I don't know. But I do think that Rasheed Wallace is probably going to be your swing tackle. On the other side of the ball, you have to be excited about some of these second-year guys coming in, whether we're talking about a second-year draft pick in Bari, where you're talking about Justin Hollins, who showed up last year as really second year on the Green Bay Packers. Guys are playing well. Guys are playing really well. There's still some things when we look at when we break down the tape, we go to the tape, we'll look at that are some issues. We had some issues at the safety position. We have some issues maybe tipping off some plays a little bit early. You see that they're integrating the dogs, the schemes, the stunts, the blitzes that, with the defense a little bit more right now. Not still quite sure how we're going to play in the secondary because obviously Jair Alexander's not in the game. And I think even though Rasul's in there, we'll see some things like you just don't really get a good feel for that because I think Jair is such a dominant player and he kind of changes the way you play defense. But let's go to the tape. There's a lot of good stuff to look at on this tape here. We're going to start with defense today, which I never do. So this is the first play. We're just going to look at Rasul. And this is the kind of stuff where you see the safety comes down and Mac Jones, he has the slant on. So the safety comes down. And this is the tough part. This is about being a quarterback. If you're going to do this, you're going to bring that safety in the box. Obviously, you're on the 20-yard line. You just followed a turnover. You're going in. What are we thinking? Usually, if you were further back, you're thinking shot play, but you're already in the red zone. So here, it's a run the ball. You're going to attach some sort of quick pass to it in case the safety comes down. Mac Jones has a good read right here. Safety comes, and Rasul just gives him a really – the receiver gets a lot of separation here for a quick slant, right? You're up 3, quick slant over, makes a good play. He's like a shoestring away from making a touchdown there. You don't want to see that. You see we come in here with Rudy Ford. On the next play in, I believe this is a run. And we just like the aggressiveness, right? Rudy Ford is in the game. I know he had a couple picks last year, particularly because I remember the ones against Prescott. But Rudy Ford's in the game because the kid can tackle, okay? And he's triggering on the tight end block here. And you just love that he fills this hole. And then you see the corner coming over. We see the receiver trying to come down and crack. He does get a good crack on him later on in the game. But he comes down, tries to get that crack, and we get it replaced from the corner. But playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage, that's why I like Rudy Ford. He's a physical presence in the run game. It's a big deal. I think it's a big deal for the Green Bay Packers. We go here under center by Mac Jones. Look at the play action. This is a second down play. Scrambles, gets the slide. Good job covering up the defense. Nixon's having a little issue over here. We're having some communications problem, but they end up figuring this stuff out. But we go under center. This is a second down play. And you'd love to see, this is exactly why you go under center. For fans out there, you go under center play action because it really does stop the rush. And so we see Wyatt, I think, over the left guard, push by, but we're not going to really, if we're being honest, the ball should be gone. We're really not going to call this a pressure. Mac ends up running using that great athleticism we saw at Alabama. Got a 2x2 here with an attached tight end. You got Devontae Parker in the corner. I know Devontae from Miami, first-round draft pick from Louisville, I believe. Real talent. Only the last couple of years, things started coming together for him for whatever reason. Wasn't happening like he wanted to in Miami. Gets the call here. This is a third down play, though. I wanted to show this again. Wyatt in particular. It's like, who's going to create that second rush? And TJ Slayton's been playing great. He played great again for his snaps in this game. He's going to get doubled here, I believe. Wyatt's got left guard one-on-one. And just from a body position standpoint, and this is kind of where you have to learn how to develop and grow. And maybe this is what they're being coached. I don't know. But I played this position. I coach this position. I work with guys all the time. If you are in this position after your first or second step, the game's over. Right? Like, I'm going to block you 100 out of 100 times. You might get around me eventually, but if we're just talking, I want to pressure the quarterback and get him off a spot. You are not going to do it with your hands outside, giving up your chest, having handlebars on your chest, running right into the guard on your second step. You have to create an issue, again, where we talk about, you need to get me off my rhythm. You need to get to my real estate spot or change the positioning so I move in a way that I don't want to. This is too easy. And these are the opportunities if you really want to be a dominant player in this game. Warren Sapp didn't make a single pass rush easy, right? You might trick him every once in a while, flash your hands. He drew his chocolate grip and go, oh, what do I do? But every single rush, you were like, oh, my God, here it comes again. John Randall, oh, my God, here it comes again, right? These guys are different because they play your edges all the time. You can't play down the middle like this. So I think they pop one in here in the run game. Okay. A couple series later, we're under center again. And this is what we're starting to do. So we started to do this a little bit last year. You're going to slant around on the front, and then obviously your linebackers are going to fill from the second level. So everyone's got a gap. So right now, if you're looking at this, every single gap should be filled by a safety, a linebacker, or a defensive lineman. And what happens is when Enagbari and they slant down to the left here, and then you got both of your linebackers are going to slant over. What ends up happening sometimes is if the corner or anybody gets rooted out here on the right side of the screen, then all of a sudden Isaiah McDuffie's he's scraping tight, but there's way too much space there. So now he's got to make a really good play here just to make this tackle. Is he coming a little too tight? Not really. You'd like to come inside out here, outside in. But if you come outside in, then obviously what happens is that running back runs straight downhill and you try to make an arm tackle on the outside in. So he's doing what he's supposed to. This is just a tough play. Good run. He ends up missing that. That tackle, slows the guy down. They get a couple yards. But those are the kind of things they're going to work in. In order for it to happen, you have to be able to hit that whole square, maybe a step wider, and so you can make that tackle in the box. You're in the hole, even though that hole is like 4 yards wide. So the corner, the safety needs to crash down a little bit better. But really, McDuffie, he's coming so tight and he's coming so fast downhill, trying to redirect is difficult. Now we get the crackback. This is the kind of stuff. So Rudy Ford is a physical player. They're going to play him in the box. They're going to play him closer to the line of scrimmage. The closer he is to the line of scrimmage, in my opinion, the better he helps this defense, right? If you can play single high for a lot of time because you got Jair, because you feel good about Rasul, etc. Okay. You cannot have this happen to you. If you're a safety and you see that wide receiver, you cannot get blocked like this. Period, point blank. You have to attack the wide receiver. You're not trying to skirt through there and just kind of try to beat him. You see that guy coming, you're the hammer. You have to take this block on. You have to fill your gap. You can't get pushed through. You're putting the corner in a really bad spot here. One, this isn't a great play for him either way. But two, I remember against Stevenson, who's a really good running back. But two, realistically, that's a really hard angle. Like, if anybody's ever tried to make a tackle, you got a guy running straight up and down the field, north and south, and you're coming from east or west. Like, that's a hard tackle, especially against one of these big running backs. Now, I put this on here. Welcome to 2023 NFL. This is Bill Belichick's football team, right? I know Bill O'Brien's running the offense, but this is Bill Belichick's football team. You have 5 down linemen, 6 in the box. We could say, or is the safety near, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you have 7 blockers. There's 2 tight ends in the box. 7 on 6. Okay. Plus, you got Mac Jones in a pistol formation, so it looks like they run a read option. What do the Patriots do? They run a damn jet sweep. Are you kidding me? 2023 National Football League. You've got more blockers plus an opportunity to run read option, and we're running jet sweeps out here, man. Welcome to the NFL in 2023. Unbelievable. Shotgun formation. We got 2-3 techniques, 2 wide rushers, Duffy and Walker in the game. Okay. I love this, right? This is just simple. And Anibari did this a couple times. He's playing high level. It looks like he's gained some weight. He's certainly playing with more power on his pads. This is a very easy, one arm is longer than two, whatever anecdote, whatever, phrase that you like to use when we're talking about pass rushing. Here's what I always look at. We'll go back one more time. So now we're watching the right tackle kick back against Anibari. Okay, when he turns and drops that back foot, he doesn't need to. All right, see, he opens himself up. You get that right hand on that inside pad, and he just does a great job of walking this dude all the way back. I mean, it's just a really, really nice job. He's, completely overmatched, completely overwhelmed there. Talking about City Sao, actually 4th-round draft pick this year. You're gonna have to forgive me if I don't know the names of all the Pats guys here. Great rush. That's a rush that's sustainable. That rush is because you got to remember, Anibari when he came in the league, he ran like I'm going to get this wrong, but I think he ran like a 4.47 40. So it's just like, does he have enough lead in his pencil, right? When you get to that spot, you've already put that person feeling like they're out of rhythm or not in control. When we talk about getting your real estate spot, now do you have the power to back it up with a play like a stab? And then once you get that stab, what else can you work off it? Like the guy's got a lot of options because of the speed. If he's got a little bit more kind of power behind that first punch, that initial contact, man, you really got something there. So we got the 2 wide threes again. We got Quay Walker in the middle. Same look. What am I doing, Mike? Yeah, same look, guys. Great rush. Okay, we're tipping this off a little bit early, so that's kind of the first thing you talk about with Quay kind of tipping this off with Lucas Van Ness downhill. So the offensive line is going to be able to pick this up. This is something when you start talking about all the different people playing safety, we're vying for the starting safety positions. What does that look like? Is it Jonathan Owens? Is it? And then we have Anthony Johnson Jr. We got drafted in the 7th round here. I think he just came. This might be his first play of the game, and he gets spun around like a top here. Now look. For those who don't know, if I've opened my body up to the field of the upfield here, and I see that this tight end, number 85, the New England Patriots have 2 really good tight ends, and of course everyone's slipping my mind right now. But Hunter Henry, from the Chargers, really good player. Now he pulls kind of a double move and just goes back. He goes post corner here, and they don't connect this ball, but they should. And as a rookie, the one thing you got to know is like, which way do I turn? I want to keep my momentum. So he should just flip his head and keep his running style. Instead, he turns all the way around like that, and now he's beat, right? And so this is a play that could have been for them. So these are big plays that you got to start looking at and going, all right, how do I make decisions on guys based on what we think they can do based on game tape? Right? Truest form of a grading system, like based on game tape. What's happening here? So we'll show it up front here. So Lucas Van Ness is obviously a little bit closer than he usually is. I said this term pre-draft. When he's in the 3-point, I like it a lot better when he's in 2-point. He's got good leverage either way. He's got good hands. I just think he's better out of a 3-point. So something's up with Quay. He doesn't play that over. Now he shifts all the way over. You've just made this really easy. Like, this doesn't help. Quay's got to understand this because I think they're going to use him. Last year, they started using him a lot on a lot of dogs because it takes a lot of the thought process out and lets young players play fast, right? And then it just gets them more comfortable with the game. And plus, he's really good at it. Okay, but in these situations, you want to really come as tight as you can, and then you can kind of force that tackle to turn like we showed earlier with your physicality or your speed. But if you're going to tip this off early, you just see the right guard, right tackle here. Like, this couldn't be easier now as far as pushing these guys by. Just little things you can work on adjusting, right? You're just a little bit anxious about getting to that hole. So we got our 3 down linemen inside. I think we're going to run a little stunt here in the inside zone. Yeah, I really like this. So there's always ways to defeat this and counter, but you look at the left defensive tackle here. You look at left defensive tackle is going to set into the A gap, and that really just allows the nose tackle to play off of him and roll into the play here. Beats the right guard inside. They don't have a call on. They don't know that they're going to stunt. If this was an outside zone, they'd be bringing the center, bringing the backside guard. So there's ways that this can maybe you can have a problem running this play. But when you run inside zone, and this is why a lot of teams don't like running inside zone against that jam or that bare front, all you have to do is stunt one guy, and the nose tackle can play over the top, and you always got some kind of issue. Because right here, you can just see this gets gummed up. You take two, the center gets mauled. And, that's our rookie Wooden coming in and making a really good play right there. Okay, we talked about the secondary with some issues and just trying to figure some things out. So we got a 2x2 look here, and we both jump outside automatically to the outside. So the inside receiver here now has free access to the big G in the middle of the field. Obviously, Isaiah McDuffie is reading eyes here, so he could take either side right here, I'm imagining. You look at this as kind of a very balanced defense. Could he be down the middle more? Yeah, possibly. But the truth is up top, we've had a miscommunication. This is why it's preseason. These guys aren't necessarily the full-time starters. This is stuff we have to figure out, but ends up being an easy play for these for Mac Jones, just an easy pitch and catch, for a really good pickup. Love the crazy twist here. We used to call this crazy twist. So this is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers used to run this with Sapp and Greg Spires, all those guys. So we're going to get basically two TEs, but then the E's, and I don't think they do it on purpose here, but the ends actually end up crossing, I think. Talking about Enagbari and Lucas Van Ness. We got two up top, upfield, and they cross through. Now, look, Mac Jones makes a great throw, and this is a great catch. But you just like seeing this. If you're a Packers fan, you go, oh, like this is going to work. He holds it one more second. You got two guys hitting the quarterback, and this is a really good job of just running plays. I think the TE game, especially with Lucas Van Ness, and you start thinking about the power, like the speed to power that he goes with. Justin Hollins has been doing this really well since he got here as well. But when you talk about a young player who's going to, let's be honest, like he's going to be fighting for playing time because Justin Hollins is a good player. Enagbari is really stepping up. Rashawn Gary, when he comes back, is a star. And then you have Preston Smith, who's been a very, very, very good starter in this league and for the Green Bay Packers for a number of years now. So it's like, how do you get him on the field? Well, if you're just going to tell him to power, he doesn't have a power rush yet that is good enough to beat a good right tackle in the National Football League. But if you get him moving, if you get a guard that's a little bit off balance, maybe a guy who's not that athletic, you put him down in that 3 technique, you run a TE game where he comes inside, he gets to start picking people on an ET maybe. Like all of a sudden that stuff's really easy because you're basically just a bullet in the chamber, right? Like I got to go hit that guy, deal. I can do that. That's not that hard. And he's not going to be expecting it necessarily, even better, right? So these are good things. We talked about Quay running the Suns last year. These are a good way for the defensive coordinator to get that player more engaged in the game without having to overthink. Great pitch and catch by the Patriots, but so it goes, right? We got the double wide again. Now we see over here, I think Enagbari gets the left tackle now. And for the life of me, when you first look at this, you're like, how do you get beat? And this is why, this is like, the trench warfare stuff, okay? This position, the guards or the tackle, he's up tall, he's showing his chest, his hands are outside. He's already kind of starting to turn towards the line of scrimmage or towards the sideline. He doesn't need to. And right here, he just drops his back foot. And it's almost like, I don't want to sit here and say that most of the guys in the league are teaching this, but they're not preventing. Like if you're allowing this to happen, you might as well be teaching it. So if you open your back foot, if you're watching a game and you see that basically the tackle's feet go in a vertical line like this after their second or third kick, I'm not saying they're going to give up sacks. I'm saying they're going to get beat. And it's just a question of whether or not the quarterback's going to hold the ball because you can't hold up. The next thing is, where does that up foot go? Well, it goes back even further and you've opened up that edge. This is how people beat the edge. If you want to win, you just square. We just don't do a good job coaching it. We allow it. And so good for us right now with the Green Bay Packers because we have two guys that I don't think are going to do that. But Enagbari gets this guy right here, gets another sack. Great hit. I don't know if they called that a sack fumble. Great play. Absolutely great play. Great effort. And, I mean, listen, it's not rocket science, right? He's got speed. He's developing power. He's confident in what he's doing right now. and he's not playing like that's not their top guy over at the Patriots. That's not Trent Brown. But Trent's got the same problem. He's just 360 pounds or something like that, but he opens up like everybody else. All right, we got our obligatory. What is the bare minimum? You're trying to get Lucas Van Ness, 13 pick in the draft. Like I think he's got a really hard time finding playing time. I think they're going to play him because he's a good athlete and he's first round pick. But like, I don't think he's playing at the level these other guys are. He's certainly not a Rashawn Gary right now, and that's not a bad thing. That's just the reality of where we're at, right? Iowa kid. I think he's going to be a good football player. What's the minimum? Like, what can he do? Well, he should beat the hell out of tight ends. This is what he should be able to do regardless. Okay, I'm just going to beat the hell out of that guy, throw him like a rag doll, get the guy. I think he. It's like Lucas. If you do that every game, we'll get you 20 snaps. How's that sound? Deal, right? You're going to run some TEs. I'll give you a couple free rushes. I want you to beat up the tight end every time he's in. How does that sound? Good. I know there's more that goes into the game than that. I like to simplify things and play fast. Okay, we're on offense. We started off in 12 last week with 2 tight ends. Now we've got DeGuara as fullback. We're in 21 personnel. We're going to win the Super Bowl this year. We started in 12 and 21 personnel. I don't think any other team in the league's doing this. We start off with a fullback. This is pro. But that could be Amon Green in there. I could be playing right now. This is absolutely amazing. I'm so fired up about this season. And what happens? Of course, we gain a bunch of yards on the ground because you're in 21 personnel and nobody knows how to play it anymore. And the Patriots are one of the best teams in the league at doing it. We got the big fella Rasheed Walker over here at 63 playing left tackle. He earned it from the play last year, or the play last week, and obviously during the course of the week, during the course of the whole preseason. I mentioned it before. He just moves really well for a big fella, right? Vastly improved from last season, what we saw. Zach Tom, you just watch the footwork that he always is gaining ground with his first. It's just like little things. It's so important. Can you gain ground with your first step? Can you get your second step in the ground when you strike? Can you get your hands inside? Like all this, it just matters. Okay. See Aaron Jones with his first carry here. Really like Myers doing a good job. Myers had a good day. And a lot of the game he's playing against Devon Gotchow. And I'll just tell you right now, I know Devon, he was down in Miami with me. He's a hell of a good defensive tackle. If today he decided to play and Myers is preseason, you never know. And Myers is out there doing like what he did, you got to feel really good about the game Myers had. We see the double team here. First step, excellent. Doesn't cross over. I'm talking about Myers now. The running comes, and look at the movement. Just fantastic. Just an absolutely fantastic job. They get 3 yards of movement. The guys turn sideways. We minimize this because we don't care about the run game that much, but this is what sets up the rest of the offense, especially we're going to run a lot of under center play action and keep passes and whatnot. So you have to be excited. I mean, that's a lot of movement, guys. I don't know what else to say. Like 3 yards of movement, you're definitely feeling yourself after the play. Under center, 2x2 here. We got Musgrave hipped off far too much. I mean, in my opinion, just being honest with you, I don't love it. Okay, so we have tryouts for Alan Lazard's backup as blocker here. So the next contestant is Jalen Reed. And, well, this doesn't go great. Open tryouts. Who wants some? Oh, man, it's tough. Hey, got a touchdown, though, but, oh, man. That's like, yeah, the thing is, it's funny is I played at 295 pounds. Amon was like 220, but yeah, just a big, strong guy. And so when you see these little guys out here and like a little guy hits a little guy falls down, it's just, it's fun to watch sometimes. All right, under center, we got 21 personnel again. Going to motion. Okay, so this play is actually really difficult for a number of reasons. It looks like DeGuara is not getting his block right here. He's trying to go back underneath the quarterback. But, I mean, that's just like that's an incredibly difficult block for him. If the quarterback's going to waggle and try to keep on the move, he's got to pull up. I just don't know how he makes this play. You're hoping that what's happening is I don't think a lot of guys feel like our tight ends are actually going to be in the blocking game. So they're kind of looking for the play action stuff first. And you see Dobbs gets his second move here, but the quarterback's already kind of tied up. So he he has options. There's a lot of people in the throw in lanes. Pulls up late. I just think this is a good job of you Jordan Love, like, just getting rid of the ball. Sometimes you just gotta, these are the veteran moves. Sometimes, like, you turn around and you're like, okay, what do you see right here? You got nothing. You got nowhere to throw. He could float it to Dobbs and just take a licking, but that's just not a. Maybe that's a eighth year Aaron Rodgers play. I don't know if that's where he's at right now. Just putting this thing, just getting rid of it, not letting Tony Wise get a sack. Fair enough. Yeah, the snap. You just want to take a quick look at the snap. Bad snaps happen. Hopefully you get rid of them. Myers had a good game aside from this. I know it's a big deal, but sometimes that stuff happens. It's like you obviously don't want that to happen, but you don't fixate on like the bad snap. If you go out there and you're playing a great game, and you have a bad snap, it's like it really does suck. But it's not like you got physically beat by somebody. I don't know how to explain that, so it makes sense. You should be upset about it. If you're a fan, I'm sure you're like, oh my God, what is he saying? It's a huge deal. They gave up, it could have cost us a touch, whatever. But it's not like you got manhandled by somebody. There's just a different sensation to it. Great pocket. This is what's available. And you think about like Travis Kelce, and I know they're very, very inventive down there in Travis. I'm not comparing the two, but okay, so Luke Musgrave, he just kind of, he's just okay. And then hey, just give me the ball at the line of scrimmage. You're like 2 yards down, and I'll just make, I'll turn 2 yards into 7, or I'll turn 1 yard into 8, or, I get up here and get a first down. Like, this stuff is so simple when you have an athletic guy. It's so simple when you have an athletic tight end. Now, what's the flip side of this is going to become, in my opinion, what we have to really consider when we start talking about Luke Musgrave is, or any of these tight ends, until we feel like they're, the 5-tool guys, hipped off again. And you look at the middle linebacker here, he sees it immediately. Like, yeah, he's not doing anything. And so they come down here and they've got the under center play action, roll to your left. So now Jordan's got to flip his hips, which we talked about last week on the pass to Dobbs down the goal line. It takes him a little bit of time. It's just natural. It's not a natural throwing motion for him. But he wants to give this ball to the tight end, but he's double covered. And because the linebacker read this so well, I think, at least in large part, because they understand Musgrave's not going to do a lot of blocking, and they can't cut out the backside defensive anymore. So that's going to cut down that play even more. In other words, if you can't take out the knees of the backside defensive end, and you got to actually hit them, they're not going to spend a lot of time taking their prize, Corvette over there to get beat up by a brick wall. So now, because of that, the DB can just stop, get back here, break up the pass play. Right. And it's a timing thing, but it's also like a little bit of a pattern recognition of understanding I'm probably not going to use this guy for that backside block as much as maybe they used to. It's not going to be that split flow look that actually turns into the run. So Jordan Love gets away with one here. I mean, and here's why I say that. This is a great completion to Dobbs, but the Patriots are reading his mail right now in a big way. DB's reading his mail. You watch this play again. He's driving on this ball before the receiver. He actually has to slow down so he doesn't get PI. This is how the catch is made. I mean, they're reading mail right here. So we get a little bit lucky with this play that it's not a pick, that it's not, it ends up being a reception. So it's great, but we're giving up a little bit of information in the route. We're giving up a little bit of information by formation. So we just have to be really smart about that from a coordinator standpoint as we go forward. A receivers coach, obviously. Let's watch Zach Tom. I don't always love the way that Zach turns, but the body position, the bend, and look at the hands here against Matt Judon. Now, Matt Judon, there's three plays in a row here I'll show you, because this is why you got to love. Matt Judon's like all pro. I love Matt Judon. I love watching him. Is he putting out Super Bowl caliber effort in this play? Probably not. But he's rushing. Okay, whatever. Yeah, you got me. Fair enough. Good hands. And so the next play, we'll see. So Zach Tom goes out. He got his hand inside, okay? And now you're barely going to see this, but he kind of like shoves him away. He kind of dismisses him, right? There. He's kind of dismisses him, right? And I didn't let it run, but Judon kind of comes back and says something to him. Here's the very next play. So now Judon's like, well, you did it. Now I got to do it. And and the ball's gone. And we could say like John Rennan's coming out, but you forget like Judon's pretty good, man. And this is what happens. Okay, so you got this tight end out, and a lot of times it's weird with tackles. Sometimes they'll feel like they got to get to where that tight end was, and they'll set a little bit flatter than they need to. In other words, he could just do what we call a line set a little more vertically and just be in a great position because this ball's going out fast. Judon's going to try to take this angle higher unless you go wide, in which case he'll go underneath. Okay. But his initial first, second step are going upfield. He just sees where Zach Tom is. He sees that his shoulders are turned, his feet are, clicking heels right now. And it's like, I got an easy one right here. So he beats him inside. It just shows there's some dudes out there that can really rush the passer. Judon's one of them. So this is a Jordan Love thing. We're just looking at, he doesn't really have, like, there's no Devontae Adams on this team. Some of these guys might develop into it, but it's not there, right? So you look at a play like this and you're trying to decide, okay, how's he progressing? Well, obviously you have to start with his footwork, pre-snap decision making and footwork, right? But then you look at this play, and when he releases this ball right here, double covered, leveraged, plus double covered right here, up top, plus leveraged. Only play he has is guys covered very, very well, has to throw outside to the sideline, and actually makes a really good throw. I think they kind of get in his breadbasket a little bit and break this play up. But a really good throw, really good decision. Probably made that decision pre-snap. And this is kind of what you're looking for. There's going to be situations as things progress where, I mean, you guys all remember that, like, Aaron Rodgers was famous. They had a scramble drill in Green Bay for like 10 years with Mike McCarthy. Like, they had a period where it was like, all right, hike, scramble, 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 whatever they called. And then everybody started running around, right? If you were close, you went far. If you were far, you came close to your left, you went right, blah, 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 blah. That's just, it's not where you're at anymore, right? So you're just looking at, okay, does the guy have good footwork? Is he releasing the ball on time? Is he making the right decision? The answer to all three of those is yes. Look at the two young guys here. Start with 63. Walker just moves really well for a big guy, like I said. He can sense vertically. See, he has that foot kicked out in his stance. Foot kicked out in the stance. That means if this guy, Tony Wise, isn't fast, but if this guy was fast, he's going to be able to turn him immediately. This will be very easy for him to get turned. That could be a problem. And then coming back inside, it means he's going to have to open up his inside foot. He'll have to swing that open like a hand of a clock because he'll get that inline vertical set with his inside and outside foot. But right here, does a great job. Just a quick kick back. And I just think he moves really, 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 really well. And then obviously we go look at Zach Tom on the other side against Judon. And he just does a really good job. He's got elite level hand placement right now for a young guy, and he does a really good job of staying extended. He keeps Judon off his body. He's kind of, I've been saying that for the last, every time he plays, is one thing that really impresses me is he's able to keep that defender off of his body for the most part. Zach Tom again, working with Runyon here. Boom. Okay. Timing step, second step strike, inside foot, inside shoulder, same foot, same shoulder strike, rise to the linebacker. This is the kind of stuff that, like, Mike Flanagan and I really, really liked working as the center and two guards back in the day. Getting that player all the way over, and then Runyon can just accelerate. Even if the guy tries to fight over, now you're fighting over like 3-4 yards down the off the line of scrimmage. You see Runyon just ends up pancaking the guy, but it's really due to the work that Zach Tom did, knock his hip all the way over. So big time move there. I love it. Back in 21 personnel here. See the other you see the same side of this. Now, the reason I brought it up, I wanted to show the other angle, is because we got DeGuara in the backfield. DeGuara, you got to do something here for me. Channel your inner up. Missed it. It's too low on the screen because I have this up. How about this? Channel your inner Lorenzo Neal. Okay? If you see a guy coming in like that, you absolutely maul him. You absolutely maul him. You forklift him, pick him up, deposit him on his back, and then pancake, sumo splash, whatever you want to call it, right on his chest. Don't go over the top. Don't make your running back have to jump. 3-by-1. I think they ended up calling this in. Great throw. Obviously, you'd like to see Dobbs hold that line. We talked about it last week. Imagine that red line. You'd like to hold that a little bit longer as we go back and look at this one more time. He's there. Hold that line. Hold it. Don't get pushed to the sideline. Catch this ball over your right shoulder if you have to. But give yourself that space. You win with space. You fought for that space. You got to win with that space. Okay, we got, and this is, I think I got 2 or 3 more plays. It's kind of the good and the bad, right? So this is what we're constantly talking about with Musgrave is, are we going to develop into a complete player, and Tucker Craft as well, or is it just constantly going to be, we're going to go back and we will put a hand on a guy or whatever? Like, what are we doing, right? And I know we're taking under center 21 personnel shot play here, but he's not on the line of scrimmage. You know that he's coming back. Like, there's just there's some things you can start keying on with all this stuff if you study tape. Good play by Love scrambling here. Really no pocket pressure at all. This is just a good decision by him to tuck it and run. He could have gone to A.J. Dillon in the flat. This is what we do. You just make decisions and live with them. So you see that position. He's obviously going to go backside now and help. Great job by John Runyon Jr. Love the hustle. Oh, I don't know what that is. Okay. Now we got Kraft over here. Or excuse me, Musgrave. Pardon me. We got Luke Musgrave over here with Zach Tom. Now, this is usually what you call a C block. I don't know why that's phantom right. Okay, so we got a C block right here. So we're going to go double team on the defensive end up to number 3. Zach Tom does a good job trying to work. He ends up trying to fight back, and this guy ends up beating him. I think he's expecting help from Musgrave. I don't know if he gave him enough to hit. But Musgrave, you got to come up and do something here. You just can't get knocked off by the linebacker. This is what we're talking about. We want to really develop a physical player. This isn't a physical play at all. Okay, we really got to work on that. Get pushed in the back a little bit here. Now, the other side of it is A.J. Dillon. That's how you deal with somebody coming in the box. This is how A.J. Dillon deals with the same situation that DeGuara just saw. You want to run in? I got kind of 2 looks here. So first, let's watch AJ. Okay. He throws him. So the guy's falling down. I know that Watson gave him something to think about, right? But we just leave no doubt. Now, the other thing is, though, that we got to get excited about is Luke Musgrave. Okay? I know that 33 isn't a professional pass rusher. That doesn't what he do for a living. Okay? But locks in. Gets him extended, keeps him extended long enough. Jalen Reed to get open. Great throw by Jordan Love. Great footwork. Makes a great catch. Gets into the end zone. So we're winning. I mean, this is the kind of stuff. It's not always, this is a development league. It has to be. This is a team that's always done really well with development. And if you can develop these guys, there's just a lot you can do in an offense. Again, we've talked about with the weapons that you have. He doesn't have a true number 1 anything right now, but that's okay because we got to figure out who they are. And I think that's really going to help as you move forward here. So with that said, we have some listener questions. The first one, I'll go through a couple of them. The first one is Rasheed Walker starts over Yash, and what does that mean? And then thoughts on his play generally. I said it before. I think the ceiling's pretty high. Yash, I really like Yash, and I think he's done a great job by this team. I think the hard part is he's never really, for me, turned the corner to be a physical run player, right? So, and at the tackle position, it's very easy to say, well, his job is to protect the quarterback. Is what they get paid for, and you're not wrong. But Bakhtiari's there. You're looking at right tackle, really, or the swing position. And you got to be, you got to be a 5-tool guy. You got to be able to do everything. And I just think Rasheed Walker from a physical standpoint. I really like the way he moves. And he just seems to be more physical at the point of attack than Yash has been. He's big, so just generally speaking, like getting around him is, it's just there's some issues there because of his size and length of his arm. His feet are excellent. I don't like technically there's some things I would not advocate for, but right now I just think he's probably and he showed out. Listen, this is a show me league. If you go out and you practice really well, somebody's going to notice, and then they're going to go into the coaches meeting. They're going to say, "Hey, this guy needs a chance. Like he's playing. Okay, we put him in the game. Does really well. Okay, if he plays good next week, we're going to start him because Bakhtiari's not playing." That's exactly what happened. And he goes out and he plays. He's probably going to start again this week. If Bakhtiari's not playing this week, I bet you he's playing again because he earned it. It just is what it is. He did a good job. And I don't think it's a negative on Yash. I just think it's like you always have to go back and go, am I getting better at the stuff that's holding me from being who I want to be? Right. And if the answer's not quite, then you really got to double down and do everything you can to get better at what you need to get better at. Question number 2, what is something fans always overrate when it comes to roster reduction day? And I think the easiest thing to say here is I would assume, I don't really know. I don't pay too much attention to, I guess I never looked at it from a fan's perspective. But I, from a player's perspective, I tell you, what you're hearing from the media is probably what you're overreacting to because more often than not, they know, like you think about how many media guys say it's likely that, or sources say it might, or sources say they're leaning towards, and there's no definitive anything, right? Because they don't know. So you're just making, it's not like you're making stuff up. It's like a half guess, right? So a lot of the information that's going on behind the scenes, I mean, I can't tell you, just from my experience being on both sides of the table, I can't tell you how many times there's a trade or a potential free agent that they could or could not get. There's like so many transactions that could have happened or almost happened or might have happened that we have no idea about. And so a guy stays on the team because we couldn't get another guy. Or a guy leaves the team because there was a street free agent that we picked up. Or there was a trade that was going to happen but fell through in the I mean, things happen a lot. And if you're just looking at like how we're evaluating, these guys are getting evaluated when they eat lunch, when they're in the weight room, when they're in their meeting rooms, and when they're on the field on practice and game day. Now, depending on the quality of the coach, and I'm talking about the position coaches, they're going to weigh everything a little bit differently. They're going to put more, weight into how they, how they interact in the locker room, in the training room, in the meeting room versus the field of play. Like ultimately, if you play well, you're going to make the team. But if you're a marginal guy and you're not a great guy, they're going to take the great guy. All that stuff, like it makes sense, right? So that all that goes into it. We just don't see a lot of it. Like you really don't, even if you're watching Hard Knocks, you really don't have any idea what's really going on as far as who gets along, the conversations that are had, the behind the door talks, like all that stuff really does matter. And I don't know to what extent it matters. It's probably a sliding scale based on your talent, but it does matter. And we don't see a lot of that. Speak on the Packers' ability to consistently develop offensive linemen, particularly in the middle rounds. So I'm going to tell you why I think the Packers can develop offensive linemen. I think philosophically, since Ron Wolf was here, they've just taken a lot of pride in their ability to draft and develop offensive. I mean, the entire team, but really offensive linemen. I'll just start naming out like line coaches and people that have been here that you can probably resonate around the league. Okay, we have Tom Lavatt, and then we had Beck, and then we had, but Joe Philbin was here. James Campen is here. Right, Stenovich is the kind of the latest guy, draft and develop guy, and then you look at general managers. You have Ron Wolf, Mike Sherman, offensive line coach, by the way, John Dorsey, Schneider, Ted. Good. I mean, they're all like everybody is from the same group and the same philosophy. These aren't guys. Those are the personnel guys are all homegrown. Wolf, Sherman, Dorsey, Schneider, Ted, and Goody. They're all home. They were all homegrown here. So the philosophy is Ron Wolf's philosophy. Never changed. Draft and develop. Yeah, they update it. But it doesn't change. I mean, it's fundamentally, it's the same philosophy that they've always had. And so I just think they go about their business in the same way. They look for certain traits. They're probably thinking footwork first, right? And then what can we make this guy more physical? Do we have a technical coach Does the system call for it? Are we getting guys out of colleges that we know develop offensive linemen? Are we getting guys out of colleges that don't do a good job? Do we know the coach at that school? I bet if you did a deep dive, you'd figure out that maybe they're picking players, or they have a prevalence of looking for players from certain teams where they know the coaches, because they know that coach does a good job developing talent, or they can at least get a better insight about that player. We talked about it a little bit. Somebody asked about how Myers played. I just think he played well. His footwork looked a lot better than it usually does. Inside hand was working well, getting a lot of push off the line versus a good player on the New England Patriots. I think New England Patriots front is a really good front. They're not as dynamic as maybe some of the other players you're going to see. They're more of a kind of bring your lunch pail. It's going to be a long day deal. So there is that part of that. It gets really athletic players. Does he look a little bit different? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But he did look really good this week. So you got to, you take away the snap like we talked about. I think it's a really good week for him. What strengths and weaknesses have the preseason showed? I think if we're looking at weaknesses, it's just there's always work to do, and you haven't really seen a full squad yet. The defensive end or outside linebacker, whatever you want to call it, that position is a strength. That might be the biggest. Is it the biggest strength on the team? If Rashawn Gary's healthy, it's probably pretty close. You look at that room right now. So you got Preston and Rashawn. First-round draft pick. Okay. They have him lined up ahead of Enagbari because he's a draft pick, but on the Packers roster thing, but he's not. Enagbari's playing better than anybody right now because Rashawn Gary's not there. And then you have Justin Holland, right? And it's just – and Carl Brooks could play. I think you start talking about maybe as he gets older, he can stand up and be a rush end as well when we go into nickel, maybe, right? That's a really good room. And if Rashawn Gary comes back in form, if he can play week 1 in form with those guys, that is a strong room. If you can get a defensive tackle, TJ Slayton looks like the guy right now to create some double teams, create some opportunities for Kenny Clark, and then open up that outside rush. It's just a really, really, in my opinion, it's a really strong room. And I think the other side of that is you start who's got the inside track to start at safety. And we showed a little bit of it. For me personally, I think they're gonna give Darnell Savage every opportunity to be on the field because he's a first-round draft pick. He's an athlete. He's played in the league for a number of years now. He is a veteran on this team, and you're just kind of trying to find the place that fits him best, and this might be it. Now, the other side of it, we saw some good and bad from Rudy Ford. We've seen some good and bad from Jonathan Owens. Jonathan Owens got beat badly by 85 by Hunter Henry. Got beat badly in this game on a stick nod that could have been another play. Mac just missed him, and these things happen. Okay, but he also got beat. He missed a tackle last week. They got beat for 30. So nobody's perfect. Who's going to start? For me, it's Rudy Ford and Darnell Savage. I certainly don't think Johnson's going to. I don't think he's ready to go. You saw how he turned the wrong way. That's kind of an issue. But, listen, you got to feel good that you have. I think Jonathan Owens, I watched Jonathan Owens last year a lot because I follow the Texans, and he can play. He can play ball. There's some, he'll continue to come along. For me, I wish they would have had a big name free agent there, but they just, they didn't. They didn't draft a guy. They didn't. It is what it is. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But I don't think that I don't know that it's a source of strength. But I don't know. If Savage can end up playing well, then he could end up working out. Got a couple more here. Let's see. Curious if just wear and tear from the previous year. Coach. It says here, you mentioned a few weeks back that you had a regression year yourself, but you were able to fix it and bounce back. Looking back now, any ideas what caused the regression year? Curious if it's just wear and tear. That's interesting. Okay. So when I had a really bad year, it was my third season. I was going to be the starting left tackle, and I had a bad year because I gained, they told me to gain 20 pounds. I came out overweight, out of shape. Steve Hutchinson had just been brought into the league. It was like 6'6", 315. Everyone's like, oh, that's what we're going to be. So I gained weight instead of getting better at technique. So I was slow. My technique sucked. and I couldn't keep up. Like all my athleticism was blunted because I had gained too much weight, so I just wasn't as dynamic and everything. But my technical was terrible. I lost a lot of confidence that year, but it wasn't wear and tear or anything. I was a very very young player, and so I had to bounce back from that. Got back down to my fighting weight. Brushed up my technique and got back to being who I thought I was. So that's why that happened. I think that's it for the show, guys. The rest of this stuff is the get off my lawn. I think the only thing maybe if we had to get off my lawn I want to talk about is the Pats ended up canceling their joint practice. So they had 2 weeks of joint practice. They only have one now. And obviously it was, Isaiah Bolden had the injury. But then the Texans and the Saints did the same thing, and it's injury related, right? And it's interesting because I work with some of these guys, you see the volume of repetitions that they get on a joint practice schedule is almost twice what they get during a regular practice. In other words, if you went to a regular Packers practice, you name a team, the left tackle, the left defensive end, the center, let's say they get 27, the veterans, 27, 30 reps tops during like live reps against the ones or twos or wherever they're playing defensively. You go to a joint practice, that number's 50. They're getting 50 reps. So in 2 days, you get over a game. You get basically a game and a half in 2 days. And then if the coaches are playing you in the preseason, you're getting more. So from a wear and tear standpoint, and it's actually worse for the ones than it is for anybody else. So from a wear and tear standpoint, if you're trying to preserve your best players, like maybe they're starting to figure out I shouldn't do multiple weeks of joint practices. Maybe I should just do one. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it goes moving forward. But this is seriously a consideration because I did do the numbers this week and it was literally 48, 50 reps versus like 25, 27 in a regular practice. And you start weighing your options as far as what really do you value here? And it's like, I value my health. Can I get all my players to the regular season healthy? So thank you to BetOnline for sponsoring us. This is Mike Wahle. You can find me at MikeWahle68 or on Twitter or Process to Perform on Instagram. Hit the subscribe, rate, and review buttons on YouTube /Process to Perform. That is the channel you will find all of our content on. I'll put some clips out from this show as well on the offense and defense, specifically looking at the Packers stuff. We're going to start doing the block party stuff during the regular season, so we'll have even more content as far as trench warfare and blocking, defeating blocks, tackling, etc. Hope you enjoy that. For the rest of you guys, have a good week. And as we always say here, go Pack, go.